Ready?
Yes, sir.
Welcome everyone to sort of a celebration of, oh, you're gonna put down on me, huh? Welcome everyone to a celebration of the end of Black History Month. We're pleased to be joined by Micah, Sport Director, Athletic Communications at Wilmington College. Pleased to be joined by head men's basketball coach Micah Mills to get to know you a little bit and talk about what it means for you to be a black man mentoring black athletes in your men's basketball team. So thanks for being here.
Absolutely.
So talk a little bit about growing up. So you're a proud native of Tuscarawas County, to say that right?
That's correct.
T County, as you
County,
say.
yes, sir.
You're a proud alumnus of Dover High School, so New Philadelphia is like kind of a curse word to you, right?
100%.
So talk about sort of your upbringing in that part of Ohio and how you fell in love with basketball.
Yeah, Dover, Ohio, I'll stack Dover up to any small town community in the country, honestly. Is it perfect? No, but there's a lot of great things growing up in our community that you learn. One of those is just pride in the community. There's a ton of pride in Dover, which is why our big rival with New Philly is a big deal. And still to this day, saying go Quakers is a challenge for me to say. I've gotten more comfortable with it, but I'm typically a go green type of guy.
Go green also works here.
Go green also works. That's exactly right. So. But a lot of pride in our community. There's a lot of strong family pride as well, which is something that I'm extremely grateful for my family. But there's a lot of generational families in Dover, and so you get a sense of that as well. And then sports matters in our small town. And so growing up as a athlete, playing football and basketball, I was blessed to have both of my coaches, Coach Ift and Coach Vonken, are both in the Ohio High School, Hall of Fame for their respective sports. And so to learn discipline, to learn how to outwork others, to learn how to be a great teammate are things that I take with me to everything that I do in my life. And I take my roots back to Dover and T County all the time.
And how did you get into hoops?
Yeah, I grew up playing at the YMCA. Got into the local leagues at the Y. Loved it then, loved watching it. It was always a pastime of my family. Sunday afternoons, I still remember being over at my grandpa's house and watching the Chicago Bulls play, and my grandma being in there hooting and hollering about the games, and fell in love just from watching it. And honestly, watching Jordan play at a young age was obviously captivating to everybody. But then I just fell in love with the game, playing it. Didn't make my sixth grade team. And I always remember that because that's when I kind of took my first biggest jump, as a player. And my mom challenged me. She was like, "You didn't make the team, so what are you going to do about it? Like, do you want to keep playing or not?"
Not dissimilar to Michael Jordan, right? Who got cut from his freshman team or JV team?
Yeah.
Famous there in Wilmington, North Carolina.
The difference, he got cut as a freshman and he grew about 6 inches that offseason. I didn't hit the growth spurt, that he got. Right. But the mentality of, learning how to go out and just work and get better, something that I'm grateful for that specific year. I took a big jump and, the rest is history. Love playing for Coach Vonken on the basketball court. And love playing basketball. Yeah,
you also were a football standout at Dover too, but decided to play basketball. I know in some conversation with you, you almost went the Division III route. I know like College of Worcester was one of your final choices, but ended up going to Ohio Valley, which is now a defunct school, but you were there for 4 years. Talk about sort of your time playing scholarship level basketball at Ohio Valley.
Yeah, my years at Ohio Valley, I really equate that to me becoming a college basketball coach. Growing up with Coach Vonken and Coach Iff, I always thought that I wanted to coach at the high school level, seeing the impact that they had on young men and then also our community. But then when I got to college, my coach that recruited me, he left after my freshman year. I had a great relationship with Coach McGee. And then the next coach that came in, I just, we did not connect, and not a coach that I would have went to go play for. And back then, the transfer portal and transferring, it wasn't that big of a thing as it is now. You figured it out, and you kind of just made a way.
It's deemed a lot more negative back then.
Yeah, for sure, right? And so I stuck it out, and I had great teammates, and I love my teammates to this day. But what I learned was, I had certain teammates that I know to this day, they had a coach that poured into them. The way that I think a coach should, that their life would probably look a little different than it does now. And even to say for myself, I was fortunate to have very many, male figures in my life, positive male figures in my life, from my grandpa to my father to my uncles, to my high school coaches and things like that. But not everybody's blessed with that type of circle, and sometimes as a college coach, that might be the last time that somebody gets those years of mentorship and guidance. That can go a long way. And, I saw that on the negative side at the college realm, and that led me to, wanting to make sure that I helped as many young men as I could through the game of basketball at the college level, and that's why I'm coaching college basketball now.
Yeah. And you spent close to a decade as an assistant coach in this league. 3 years at Otterbein University,
Yep.
and I want to say 6
Yes.
here as an assistant and associate head coach. Talk about sort of your time in the OAC as an assistant. It's definitely one of the best conferences in the country. High-level OAC basketball was every bit, probably close to as good as what you played in college, if I'm being frank. So talk about sort of your almost, I don't want to call it decade of service, but 9 years of grooming yourself to the opportunity you have now.
Yeah, the OAC, man, it's a great conference to cut your teeth in as an assistant, right? I mean, everybody is high-end recruiters. Everybody can X and O the game. Everybody has great schemes. There's no bad coaching in the OAC, and I was fortunate to learn that, like you said, at Otterbein. And when I was there were two of my head coach and my assistant in front of me. Rob Purley was the assistant, and Todd Adrian was the head coach. Rob Purley was actually a former head coach as well at a Knox College out in Illinois. So I got to learn from two coaches that were obviously head coaches, and so I think that helped a lot in just picking their brain a ton every single day. And then coming here to Wilmington, learning under Coach Casey Hunt, who was second here in all time in wins, was multiple time all-conference coach of the year. To learn from a coach like that caliber definitely aided in my development as a coach. And Coach Hunt, he always allowed me to have my hands on in anything. And I think that really groomed me a lot to be as ready as I could be, for my first year as a head coach, man. But the OAC, and I tell every player that we recruit and every player that's on our roster, and when it comes to small college basketball, I don't think there's a better conference. There's some that year by year could be a little bit better, but the OAC top to bottom is one of the top conferences that you're going to find, and I'm truly just blessed to be part of it.
And transitioning to this past summer, job opening comes up.
Yep.
You go through the application process. Talk about sort of the emotion of having to, hit the grindstone for 9 years as an assistant to getting that call to be your head coach.
Yeah, it was a great call that I received from my athletic director, Bill Wilson. And it just so happens that I was at home. I was at my grandfather's house. And I was able to, the first people that I was able to tell was my grandpa and my mother. And that just really meant a lot to me. And my grandpa was super excited. And as you can tell, as you can imagine. And it was a great night and something that I'll remember. But it's, humble beginnings is something that I'm all about, and working hard and working forward. And it's definitely something that I wasn't given. I definitely had to earn it going through the process. And it definitely validated, the opportunity of making sure I went through all the measures and all the applicants. And I love it here at Wilmington. If it was just about basketball, I probably wouldn't be here at Wilmington as long as I have been. But I'm blessed to work with great people. I'm blessed to work with great student athletes, and it's a great place to recruit young men to help them grow in all areas. Mm-hmm. In all areas. And
we talked about this a little bit off air, but you follow in the footsteps of our first black head men's coach was John Bryant. Yes. In the 70s. And at the time you're hiring on currently, you're the only black head basketball coach, men or women, in the conference.
Yeah.
Do you feel any added pressure for that, or do you feel like you can be sort of a light to younger black coaches that want to get in the profession? Just thoughts on sort of being in a leadership role, in a role that's really hard to get. It's really hard to become a college basketball coach.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope I can be an inspiration to young black coaches coming up and young coaches in general coming up. But yeah, I would love to be a light to young black coaches. I think the one thing for me though, that the pressure doesn't just come from that. The pressure for me comes from I have families that are sending their sons to me to help them grow as young men. I have families that are counting on me to be that leader that their son needs to be. And I want to win, that's where pressure comes. And I want to be a light for Wilmington College, and I want Wilmington College to be a light as well. And if basketball can help that, like that's where the pressure comes from. Is trying to add that pressure. I think, you know, when you talk about pressure of being a black head coach, I've been put in a lot of situations where I've been the only one in the room, and I know I'm the only one in the room, but I'm in the room, you know, and that speaks a lot to where we've come as a society and where we're going. It's not something that I don't think about, but I don't rest and put every single second there for sure.
Sure. And you have a very diverse team. One of the things that's really cool about Wilmington College is our student athlete population. 22% of our student athletes are black, which is more than double what the Division III average is for student athlete population. So talk about being you just mentioned it, families are entrusting you with their 18 to 22-year-old sons.
Yeah.
How cool is it that you get to mentor someone that you were as a black player at Ohio Valley?
Yeah, it's awesome, and it's a privilege and it's an honor that I don't take for granted. It's not something I take lightly in this role, and I think it is really important that all of our student athletes and all of our students, you know, see me in this position. You know, I can recall, you know, growing up, I never had a black coach or teacher until I had Dr. Apokadua, who was a black professor for me at Ohio Valley my sophomore year of college, right? And so to have somebody in the, I would say, higher education space, I think is important. I think in Wilmington College, obviously, we have a great representation of that, from our president to our student president as well, our student body president as well, and everything else. So I think we do a great job of that representation. But yeah, it's not something I take lightly, and I hope they do see me, you know, as that leader and someone they look up to. And I think it's important that they see that I represent our culture every single day, and that you can be who you are and still have positions of leadership, positions that you want in all types of fields, you know. And for me, it's you talk about representing our culture, is like, yep, hey, I'm gonna wear Air Forces on the sideline. You know, when you come to our practices, we're gonna there's gonna be rap music playing. When we win after games, I'm dancing.
You guys get pretty hyped.
Yeah, you know, and I'm not the fake dancing. You know, I got some moves now, you know, but that's me, you know, and I want everybody to be comfortable being them. And hopefully that my players, my black players, my white players, our students on this campus, they all see me and they get a little bit of a pep in their step to be themselves. No matter what they look like, no matter where they're from, they know that they can be successful in their realm or whatever that is to them by being themselves.
Sure. One of the things that you helped start, I think it's a couple years ago now, with the football program, is this mantra, which is "We press on." If you could explain a little bit what that means. I know you have some other, Dig Deep is one that you started with your program, but We Press On is one that has more of a like a racial tie to it. So if you could sort of explain what that is. Yeah,
so that really came about several years ago, right, where the racial tensions were at a sky high in America, and just talking about the importance of being together is the we, it's always us together, and then the press stands for different, each letter stands for a different word. You know, the P is passion, as living with passion. The E, or we go P-R-E, you know, so the R is resilience, the E is enhance, the S is strength, and the second S is support, and then on is just always forward. And, you know, I think if you take those letters and that message through anything that you're doing, whether it's good, bad, whether it's frustrating, whether it's you're being successful or you're struggling, if you just have that mentality that we're going to do it together, right, and we're going to press on through no matter what it is, I think you can get through a lot of stuff, right? And that was something that we really tried to embody here on campus, and that's something that I live by, right? And it's something that, you know, we're trying to instill in our young men as well, is the understanding that we can press on through everything, you know, the good, the bad, and the ugly. We can press on through it all.
Sure. When whether that can also mean too on the court, whether it means losing a big game or beating Marietta College for the second time in a decade. Press on through both those things. On the final day of Black History Month, as a black man in a leadership role, what does this sort of month that highlights this mean to you?
Yeah, I always think this month is it's inspirational because you hear so many different stories about successful Black Americans, you know, and you hear their stories of a lot of times what they had to overcome to get to where they wanted to go. But for me, it's also always a reminder of just how far we've come and how much ground we've covered. And I think there's no stretch of imagination to say that, you know, we still got a long way to go in a lot of areas in this world and a lot of areas in America. But we've covered a lot of ground, you know, and I think it's always awesome to see the different highlights of the Black culture. Sometimes you do it from Wilmington College. Sometimes you can see it from, if you're looking at the NBA, they highlight different players and different people behind the scenes and things like that. And just the stories and the messages that we don't always hear on a regular basis always come to light during this month. And it's something that I don't think should be taken lightly. And it's something that, you know, I'm excited to hopefully in the future continue to spread that message here at Wilmington as well.
Yeah. Head coach Micah Mills. Micah, thanks so much for joining us today.
Absolutely.